So what did Indian cricket do in 2022? It raised hopes, didn't it? It raised hopes, and then India got into the big tournament and the hopes just crumbled. But much more than that happened in 2022. You cannot do a review of 2022 without looking at Surya Kumar Yadav. Impact of Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma as leaders. Biggest concern that I think faces Indian cricket is fitness. The arrival of Hardik Pandya as captain. The Asia Cup, but more important, the T20 World Cup was a marquee event, and it also allowed us to look at the impact of Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma as leaders. Been a year now since that combination came together. What did we see under them? We saw some of the brightest, breathtaking T20 cricket through the year. You look at any metric on which to measure India playing T20 cricket, and India were 1 or 2 on those metrics. Whether it was run rate in the strike rate in the power play, whether it was overall run rate, whether it was number of sixes hit, whether it was dominating the death, on every parameter, India were looking to be among the best teams in the world. In fact, I had a conversation with the England coach, Matthew Mott, this time in Australia, and he said, we saw India playing middle of the year when they came to England, and we said, right, how do you stop this side? And yet when it came to tournament play, India just seemed to fall into the trap of believing that conservatism is safe. There has never been a bigger decoy in T20 cricket than to believe that conservatism is safe, conservatism is dangerous. But India went back into that trap in the knockout tournaments, and that, I think, is something they will have to look at as they look forward to 2023. If you look at a lot of the results in 22, India won almost everything in bilateral cricket. Hardly played test cricket, so we can't really focus too much on test cricket. Just 5-7 test matches. They came with big gaps in between. But one-day cricket, and especially in T20 cricket, India won almost everything in bilateral cricket. But notice that a lot of those series were 2-1 wins. Now, 2-1 wins you a bilateral series. You go into knockout tournaments, you're 2-1, but that 1 could be the game that knocks you out. And I think we're starting to see more and more of that. What I want to see in 23 is I want to see India winning bilateral series 3-0, not 2-1. The reason I said I want India to win 3-0 is I don't want opposition teams to believe they can win and look at every third game as a big final, as a big knockout. It's not to suggest that they're not doing that. I think just dominate the opposition and win 3-0. So when you go into a knockout stage, it's like you're playing a 3-0 game. But amidst all this, there were a lot of green shoots, and 3 players just came out and said, come look at me. 2 of those we knew already existed. 1 was a delight to watch. You cannot do a review of 2022 without looking at Surya Kumar Yadav. I remember following cricket and going around the world when Tendulkar was dominating, when Virat Kohli was dominating, and everyone said, right, what's Virat going to do next? What's Tendulkar going to do next? It's only been a year, but I've heard so much about Surya Kumar Yadav. It's interesting. Across the world, whether you're doing a quick pre-match interview in New Zealand, whether you're having a conversation in Australia, whether you're chatting on WhatsApp with somebody in England, everybody is talking about Surya Kumar Yadav and what does he do? Where does he go next? Virat Kohli asked him if he's playing in a video game. He just grins and continues scoring runs. The 100 in England and then the 100 in New Zealand were just unbelievable. They were wow games. And for him to average mid-40s and strike at 180 plus, he's taking the T20 game somewhere else. Can he continue doing it? It won't be easy because people will find out ways of bowling to him. But the rise of Surya Kumar Yadav was fantastic. Then Arshdeep Singh. We saw him in the IPL and said, this kid can bowl, you know. I said, he can bowl at the death. And then he started doing that for India. By the time the year ended, the India captain was planning his 20 overs around Arshdeep Singh. How do I bowl Arshdeep? How much do I bowl him at the start? How much do I leave at the end? How do I bowl him an over in between? And we're not talking Bumrah. This exactly the same conversation could have taken place with Bumrah. We are getting there with Arshdeep. He's nowhere near being the finished product, but we are already starting to talk that way about Arshdeep. His rise was fantastic. The third, we saw glimpses. I think we will see a lot more of that going on, was the arrival of Hardik Pandya as captain. He seems to enjoy being captain. He seems to be a player's captain. He seems to do the difficult assignments himself as captain, and he seems to grow in the role. And so the rise of Hardik Pandya as captain was refreshing. There are two other players I'm going to talk about because I thought a lot of chatter around those was negative. The first was Rishabh Pant. I mean, you look at some of his performances in 2022. There was an unbelievable 100 in Birmingham when he just turned the game around in the company of Jadeja. There was a 100 in Cape Town. There was a 90 in Mohali. There were so many innings when the going was tough and he'd come in and play a cameo. And I thought Rishabh Pant was easily India's best test player in 2022. But what about Rishabh Pant, the white ball player? He played some unbelievable ODI innings as well. There was a 100 in England. There were lots of these 40s, 50s. But I think somehow that Rishabh Pant has set the bar so high that we start measuring Rishabh Pant by the standards Rishabh Pant has set, especially in Test match cricket and to some extent in ODI cricket. What about T20 cricket? I think Pant has earned the right to be told where he stands in ODI and T20 cricket. Sometimes, because of his Test match performance, you got the impression they were giving him too many goals in T20. Then suddenly he's gone, he's there in ODI, he's not there. His life is a tempest. And he's far too young to have so much turbulence in his life. So I'd like to see a plan made. I'm sure Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma made a plan for Rishabh Pant. But I think he's a gem and we need to find a plan for him and state that so that he knows where he stands. The other is Shreyas Iyer. I've been in commentary boxes and every time Shreyas comes into bat, we start to look for the short pitch ball. The discourse around Shreyas Iyer and the short pitch ball has been deafening right through this year, and I've contributed to it. I'm willing to say that. But look at what he's done, especially in one-day international cricket. He's averaging in the mid-50s at a strike rate in the early 90s. Very few people can do that. He has found a way to score runs around a very obvious weakness. And sometimes bowlers start playing to that weakness and give him an opportunity to counter that and score runs. There are players who don't like the bouncer. There are players who don't like leg spinners. All the best players in the world work around their deficiencies and find ways to score runs. You look at Shreyas Iyer, and I think he found ways to score runs. And I think that's something we didn't appreciate enough in the year gone by. There are a few other things that happened in 2022 as well that I'll touch on in my next blog. Fitness was a big bugbear. We'll talk about that.